Good evening, everyone. I'm Chun York, and I'm sitting here in a very rainy London studio tonight, feeling a little bit like a dinosaur.
And a very good evening to you too. I'm Zhangmi, coming to you from a much sunnier Singapore. Chun York, why the long face? You sound like someone just told you books are being banned or something.
Not quite, but almost. I was looking at a headline this morning that actually made me, well, it made me a little sad, honestly. It said that by the end of 2026, over 60% of knowledge worker hires won't even be asked for a 4-year degree. 60%, Zhangmi. I mean, I spent 4 years eating ramen and reading Socrates for what? To be replaced by someone with a 6-month certificate?
Oh, Chun York, you have to look at the ROI. Really look at it. The average degree now costs what, $200,000? And it takes 4 years of your life. In contrast, these micro-credentials cost maybe $500, and you're in the workforce earning a salary in 6 months.
Sure, the ROI on paper looks great. But what about the skill gap? You can't tell me a 20-year-old with a digital badge has the same intellectual meat as someone who studied for 4 years.
But that's just it, Chun York. The skill gap is exactly why this is happening. Companies are starving, Chun York. They don't need intellectual meat that takes 4 years to cook. They need someone who can code in Python or manage an AI-integrated workflow today. Let's really peel back the curtain on this first one, because this is the foundation of the whole shift. The Google Career Certificates. Now, this isn't just some, watch a few videos and get a PDF type of deal. They built what they call an employer consortium. We're talking over 150 massive global companies, Walmart, Verizon, Deloitte, even Ford, all signing an actual pact.
A pact? Sounds like a secret society, Zhangmi. What, do they have a secret handshake too?
Kind of, but the pact is actually much more disruptive than a handshake. It's a formal agreement that says, we will treat this 6-month certificate as a direct equivalent to a 4-year bachelor's degree for entry-level roles.
Equivalent. See, that's the word that gets me. It just feels wrong, Zhangmi. I mean, think about the university experience. It's not just about the data or the code. It's the networking, the late-night debates, the struggle of finishing a thesis. You're telling me 6 months of online modules is the same?
Look, I'm not saying they learn the history of the Renaissance while they're at it, but look at the skill gap. Companies are literally bleeding money because they can't find people who know how to do data cleaning or project management right now. For a business, the ROI on a Google cert holder is massive. They don't have to wait 4 years for a graduate who might decide they want to be a poet instead.
But that's so transactional. On the one hand, yes, you get a worker, but on the other hand, do you get a leader? If I hire someone based on a 6-month how-to guide, do they have the critical thinking skills to handle a crisis? Or are they just, task performers?
That's a bit of a dinosaur take, Chun York. Who's to say a rural kid who teaches themselves Python in 6 months while working a part-time job doesn't have more grit and leadership than someone who had their tuition paid for at a fancy university? This consortium isn't just about speed, it's about agility and democratizing the entry point to the middle class.
Okay, you have a point about grit, I'll give you that. But let's look at the long-term career growth. In 2026, sure, the certificate gets them in the door. But 3 years later, when the promotion to manager comes up, does the guy with the proper degree from a big-name school get the nod because of pedigree bias?
That used to be true. But in this consortium, companies are now using skills passports. They trap upskilling in real time. If you keep stacking these micro-credentials, you're proving you can keep up with the world. A degree is a snapshot of who you were at 22. A micro-credential is a map of who you are now.
Well, it's a cold world for us dinosaurs, Zhangmi, it really is. But okay, let's move on to case study number 2. This one actually hits a bit closer to home for the tech-obsessed. We're talking about Apple. Now, they've always had this elite aura, right? But lately, they've been pivoting hard toward what they call proof of work.
Oh, I love this one because it makes the old guard so nervous. See, Apple realized that a computer science degree from a top-tier school doesn't actually guarantee you can design a seamless interface for a 2026 spatial computing headset.
Well, I suppose that's true. But what exactly is proof of work? It sounds like something out of a math textbook. Is it just a fancy word for a portfolio?
Pretty much, but it's a portfolio on steroids. Instead of a resume that says, I graduated from Stanford, these candidates are showing up with a GitHub repository or a live app that has 10,000 users. Apple is basically saying, show us the code, not the cap and gown.
But wait, Zhangmi, if I'm a hiring manager and I have a kid from a prestigious university and a kid with no degree but a really cool app, am I really supposed to pick this certificate kid? It feels incredibly risky. What if the cool app was a one-hit wonder?
But Chun York, is it riskier than hiring a degree holder who hasn't built a single real-world thing in 4 years? Think about the ROI for Apple. They get someone who has already proven they can ship a product. In contrast, the degree holder needs 6 months of onboarding just to understand how a modern dev team functions. It's all about that skill gap, my friend.
I guess when you put it that way, the theory starts to look a bit like dead weight. But it's still a bit heartbreaking, isn't it? The idea that the name of your school means nothing compared to a digital folder of projects?
I think it's beautiful. It's the ultimate meritocracy. It's not about who your parents are or which campus you could afford to live on. It's about what you can do.
Okay, you're winning me over on the tech side. But let's look at case study 3, IBM. They actually coined a term for this, didn't they? New-collar jobs?
Yes, and I love that term. It's so much more inclusive. IBM realized years ago that roles in cybersecurity and cloud computing don't actually require a 4-year liberal arts foundation. They require specific technical upskilling.
New collar. It sounds like a fashion trend. But what does it actually look like in practice? Are these just, lower-level technician roles?
Not at all. These are high-paying, high-growth careers. IBM created apprenticeship models where people from all walks of life, retail workers, veterans, stay-at-home parents, take a 6-month intensive micro-credential path and then jump straight into the cloud division.
So they're basically bypassing the white-collar requirement of a degree.
Exactly. It's a direct response to the skill gap. IBM couldn't find enough traditional graduates to fill their cybersecurity roles, so they decided to build their own workforce. And guess what? The retention rates for new-collar workers are actually higher than the degree holders.
Wait, really? Why is that? You'd think the degree holders would be more loyal.
Quite the opposite. Degree holders often feel they have options and might jump ship for a slightly higher salary. But the new-collar workers, they feel a sense of loyalty to the company that gave them a shot and invested in their upskilling. It's a win-win for the ROI of the company and the career of the worker.
It's hard to argue with loyalty and lower turnover. I suppose I'm just mourning the loss of the well-rounded graduate. But if IBM is happy and the workers are earning 6 figures, who am I to complain?
Exactly. Welcome to 2026, Chun York. The coffee is fresh and your diploma is, well, it's still a very nice tray.
All right. I'm putting my diploma tray aside for a moment, but let's look at something a bit more serious. Case study number 4, the cybersecurity fast pass. This isn't just about making apps or new collar vibes, Zhangmi. This is about national security.
Oh, you're getting serious on me now. But you're right. The skill gap in cybersecurity is, well, it's terrifying, actually. In 2026, we're looking at millions of unfilled roles globally.
Exactly. Millions. And that's my point. If we are talking about protecting a country's power grid or banking system, do we really want someone who just took a 6-month fast pass course? Doesn't that feel a bit like, I don't know, hiring a surgeon who only went to medical school for a weekend?
That's a bit of an exaggeration, Chun York. It's not a weekend. But look, here's the reality. The hackers aren't waiting for people to finish 4-year degrees. Technology moves too fast. By the time a university student finishes their introduction to networking in year 1, the exploits they learned about are already obsolete.
Okay, fair. But cybersecurity requires deep, deep logic. It requires an understanding of systems that you usually get from a rigorous academic environment. In contrast, these fast-pass certs, like the CompTIA Security Plus or the specialized AI defense badges, they seem so narrow.
But narrow is exactly what's needed when the house is on fire. Companies are now using what we call micro-simulations. To get the cert, you have to defend a live server against an AI-driven attack. It's intense. It's practical. Honestly, I'd trust someone who passed a high-stress simulation last month over someone who read a textbook about firewalls 3 years ago. The ROI for the state is a safer infrastructure now, not in 2030.
I suppose when the threat is immediate, you need a soldier, not a philosopher. It's just, it's a huge shift in how we trust experts.
Well, maybe case study 5 will make you feel a little better, Chun York. It's the middle ground. Let's look at the University of Texas system. They've done something quite brilliant. They've started stacking.
Stacking? Like Lego bricks?
Actually, yes, that's a great way to put it. They've partnered with companies like IBM and Google, so a student can earn a micro-credential in 6 months, get a job, and then stack those credits toward a full bachelor's degree later.
Oh, now see, that actually makes sense to me. You get the agility of the certificate early on so you can actually afford to live, but you don't lose the foundational wisdom of the degree in the long run.
Exactly. It's the best of both worlds. The student gets an immediate ROI because they can start working at 20 years old, but the university stays relevant because they're the ones validating the stack. It's a complete evolution of the 4-year block model.
So in 2026, the degree isn't necessarily dead, it's just, it's being broken down into bite-sized pieces?
Precisely. It's like a subscription service for your brain. You don't buy the whole library at once, you just keep adding the books you need as you grow.
Well, I suppose I can live with that, as long as I can still wear the graduation gown eventually. It's very slimming, you know.
We'll get you a gown for every brick you stack, Chun York, I promise.
Okay, I'm feeling a bit more optimistic now that we've mentioned stacking. It feels less like we're burning down the universities and more like we're renovating them. But let's look at case study number 6. This one is fascinating because it's not about sitting in front of a screen. We're talking about the green-collar trade boom.
Oh, this is a big one for 2026. With all the new climate legislation, we suddenly need hundreds of thousands of wind turbine technicians and solar grid managers. And guess what? You don't need to study Shakespeare for 4 years to figure out how to calibrate a high-tension wind sensor.
True, but these are dangerous, highly technical jobs. If a technician makes a mistake on a solar farm that feeds an entire city, that's a massive problem. In contrast to a traditional engineering degree where you spend years on the physics of energy, these green certs are only, 9 months? It feels a bit rushed, doesn't it?
Chun York, if we waited for everyone to get a 4-year engineering degree, the lights would literally go out. The skill gap in renewable energy is a total bottleneck for the economy. These 9-month programs are high intensity. They use VR simulations and on-site shadowing. The ROI for the worker is incredible. They go from a low-wage job to a specialized trade making $90,000 a year in less than 12 months.
I suppose it's the return of the vocational school, but with a high-tech 2026 twist. It's less about theory and more about application.
Exactly. It's about agility. If the turbine technology changes next year, you don't need a new degree. You just do a 2-week upskilling module provided by the manufacturer. It's just-in-time learning, not just-in-case learning.
Just-in-time learning. I'll have to remember that one. But okay, let's pivot to something even more sensitive. Case Study 7, Healthcare. Now, Zhangmi, surely you aren't going to tell me we're replacing doctors with 6-month certificates, because that would be where I draw the line.
Oh, relax, Chun York. No one is suggesting surgery in 6 months. But look at healthcare informatics. We have thousands of nurses and administrative staff who are burnt out. At the same time, hospitals are drowning in data they don't know how to use.
So you're talking about a sideways move?
Precisely. In 2026, we're seeing reskilling paths. A nurse who has 10 years of clinical experience takes a 6-month micro-credential in data analytics and healthcare AI. Suddenly, they aren't just a nurse anymore. They're an informatics specialist.
Now, that actually makes a lot of sense. You're taking the human wisdom they already have and just adding a new layer of technical armor on top of it.
Right, and the ROI for the hospital is huge. Instead of hiring a 22-year-old data scientist who has never stepped foot in an ER, they take a veteran nurse who knows exactly why that data matters. It bridges the skill gap using the talent they already have.
It's a very pragmatic way to look at it. It's not the death of the degree so much as the rise of the hybrid professional.
See? I knew I'd get you there, Chun York. You're starting to sound like a 2026 recruiter already.
Don't get ahead of yourself, Zhangmi. I'm still keeping my books. All right, Zhangmi, we've been very glass half full so far, but I think it's time to look at the cracks in the pavement. Case study number 8. This is what some critics in 2026 are calling the gig qualification trap.
Oh, You mean the idea that these certificates only get you task-based work?
Exactly. The worry is that we're creating a 2-tiered society. On the one hand, you have the architects, the ones with the 4-year degrees who understand the big picture, the strategy, the why. And on the other hand, you have the gig workers, the ones with the 6-month certs who are hired to do one very specific, repetitive task until an AI can do it better. Isn't there a risk that these micro-credentials are just dead-end tickets?
It's a fair concern, honestly. If you only ever get a certificate in data entry for AI training, you're basically building a career on shifting sand. But that's why upskilling has to be a cycle, not a one-time thing. The trap only happens if you stop learning. If you use that first gig to fund your next 3 stackable certs, you aren't trapped, you're climbing.
Maybe, but in a recession, who does the company keep? The guy with the deep foundational degree who can pivot to 5 different departments? Or the guy who only knows how to use one specific piece of software? I think we both know the answer to that one. It feels like these certs provide entry, but they don't provide security. And that leads us perfectly into case study 9. This one is a real reality check for the skills over degrees crowd. There was a massive study out of Harvard, a collaboration with the Burning Glass Institute, that looked at all these companies who said they were dropping degree requirements.
Oh, I read about this. It was a bit of a wake-up call, wasn't it?
A huge one. They found that for every 100 job postings that, quote, removed the degree requirement, only about 4 additional people without degrees were actually hired. 4%, Zhangmi. So the companies are talking the talk, but when it comes to the interview room, they're still choosing the kid from the big-name university.
Yeah, that's that pedigree bias we talked about. It's like a ghost in the machine. Even if the HR software doesn't filter you out, the hiring manager, who probably has a degree themselves, still feels safer with someone who went to a school they recognize. It's a cultural lag.
Exactly. It's what I've been saying. A degree isn't just a list of skills, it's a social signal. It tells the employer this person can survive a 4-year system. In contrast, a 6-month cert tells them, well, it tells them you're good at following a syllabus for a few weeks. There's no social proof there.
You're right about the bias, but the study also showed something interesting. The companies that did actually hire non-degree workers saw a 10% higher retention rate. 10%. So once you break through that gatekeeper barrier, the micro-credentialed workers are actually more loyal and more effective.
So the problem isn't the education, it's the gatekeepers who won't let them in.
Precisely. In 2026, we have the tools to learn anything, but we're stuck with 1950s-style hiring managers. We don't have a learning problem, Chun York. We have a trust problem.
Well, trust takes a lot longer than 6 months to build, doesn't it?
True, but a $200,000 debt takes even longer to pay off.
All right, Zhangmi, we've reached the final stretch. Case study number 10. And honestly, this one is the most personal for a lot of people listening. It's the reality of the mid-career pivot. We aren't just talking about 20-year-olds anymore. We're talking about 45-year-olds whose industries they just evaporated thanks to AI.
Oh, You're talking about the reskilling revolution. This isn't just a choice in 2026. For many, it's survival. I mean, think about the middle managers in finance or the paralegals. Their roles didn't just change, they were automated.
Exactly. And here is the long story of this shift. If you're 45 with a mortgage and 2 kids, you can't exactly go back to university for 4 years to get a new degree in data science. It's just not feasible. The ROI of a second degree at that age is practically zero.
Precisely. That's where the micro-credential becomes a literal lifesaver. We're seeing people take these intensive 12-week boot camps or 6-month certifications in AI ethics or prompt engineering. They're taking 20 years of business wisdom and stacking a fresh technical layer on top of it. It's like a software update for your career.
But Zhengmi, let's be real. Is it working, or are these people just, desperate? In contrast to a young graduate who is digital native, can a 45-year-old with a 6-month cert really compete in the job market? Or are they just delaying the inevitable?
Chun York, you'd be surprised. Hiring managers in 2026 are actually starting to prefer the pivoters. Why? Because they have the soft skills, the emotional intelligence, the leadership, the maturity that a 20-year-old with a degree just hasn't developed yet. They have the human wisdom, and the micro-credential gives them the technical language. It's a powerful combination.
So the certificate is the bridge. It allows them to bypass the degree gatekeepers because they already have the work history. I suppose that is a massive win for the ROI of the human spirit, isn't it? All right, Zhengmi, we've looked at the data, we've looked at Google, Apple, IBM, and the Harvard studies. So let's have it. The big question. Is the university degree still worth it in 2026?
Honestly, if you're going just for the information, no. Information is a commodity now. You can get the world's best curriculum for $50 a month. But if you're going for the social capital, the network, and the social pedigree, then yes, but only if you can afford it without drowning in debt.
See, I'm still on the other side of the fence. I think the skill gap isn't just about knowing how to code. It's about knowing how to think. And I still believe, maybe I'm a romantic, but I still believe the 4-year struggle of a degree builds a type of character that a 6-month fast pass it just can't touch.
But Chun York, is character worth $200,000 in debt? Because in 2026, that debt is a cage. It stops you from taking risks. It stops you from starting a business. In contrast, the micro-credentialed worker is debt-free and agile. They can pivot every 2 years as the world changes.
Debt-free and agile versus wise and stable. It's a hell of a trade-off, isn't it?
It's the trade-off of our century. But look at the bright side. At least we can finally agree that learning doesn't stop at graduation anymore. Whether you have a degree or a dozen digital badges, if you're not upskilling, you're falling behind.
Well, on that, we can definitely agree. I might keep my legacy degree, but I think I'll go sign up for a 6-week course on AI podcasting, just so you don't replace me with a robot next week.
Don't worry, Chun York. No robot has your charming dinosaur energy. Not yet, anyway.
Good evening, everyone. And keep stocking those bricks.
Bye, everyone. Stay agile.